See that?
I wouldn't worry too much about it for today. We'll figure it out.
We're gonna go.
You just don't want water coming off the street into your garage.
All right. It's 6:01 on Thursday, August 10th, and I call to order the Oak Park Heights Planning Commission meeting. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So everyone should have received the agenda tonight. There's some on that back table if you don't have one. Is there any comments or anything on the agenda that we've missed? Any additions?
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda tonight. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. There are the May 11th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting minutes on the back table well, and I think everybody's got one if they need one. Were there any edits or adjustments that needed to be changed on that?
Yeah, I don't have any issues. Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. All right. Department Commission Liaison, other reports?
I can comment from the, Mr. Chair, I can comment on the City Council. We are starting to work on budgets as we go through. We did have a work session on Tuesday night prior to our council meeting, as well as there was an update on a couple potential hires coming from the police department as well was noted. Also on the new law that went into effect on cannabis and that was also City Council took an action on to put a moratorium that was allowed underneath the statute and rule through, what was it, Eric, 2025?
12/31.
12/31/2025.
Close.
For us to get all of the stuff set up and ready for those types of sales within the community.
We had samples and everything.
That's why I'll saw you guys afterwards, huh?
Oh, maybe not.
Eric, is this your last one? You got anything for us tonight?
Yes, this is my last planning commission. I got nothing terribly exciting to offer, but it's been a pleasure working with all of you for so many years and seeing so many interesting projects that have come along. And you know, I think you guys have been great to work with, and it's always good to see the planning commission. It's always positive experience here. I mean, we have good conversations and good dynamics, and you don't always agree, and that's good. But it's always been respectful, and I've never dreaded coming to the planning commission for 1 minute. So, it's always been good times. So,
We appreciate everything you've done, and I think I can speak on behalf of the commission. So thank you.
Thank you
for
all.
everything you do for the city.
and Julie Halpin brought us all some cookies.
Yeah, there's cookies here.
Put them in front of Freeman so he can have dinner. For
Oh,
God's sake.
man, this is going to be my dinner,
All
too.
right.
Do we have any other reports? Hearing none, we'll move over to the visitor and public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to address the commission with questions or comments on issues that are on or are not part of the regular agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes in length. Do we have any visitor or public comments tonight? All right. And we will move on to the public hearings. Looks like we're starting, Scott, with Chris and Kim Hayes.
Yes, thank you. We do have a request from the Hayes for a conditional use permit to allow for front, rear, and side yard setback allowances. This lot, it's undeveloped and was created by a minor subdivision process. 2 lots are created. Subject lot bordering on 57th Street is 14,961 square feet, and the second lot that borders on 56th Street is 30,000 square feet. So the address is Peller Avenue for the southerly lot, 5655 Peller Avenue, was constructed on that larger lot, 30,000 square foot lot in 2019. At that time, a conditional use permit was granted to vary from the rear setback by the city council. So the rear setback would be the north lot line of that property and the south lot line of the subject property. A little confusing with the all the streets we've got adjacent to these properties. Property is zoned R1 single family, designated as low density residential in the comprehensive plan. The setbacks in the R1 district require a 30-foot front yard setback, but there is a provision related to averages. And in the case of this where we do have a setback on Peller, I should say Peller is considered the front yard, not 57th for this lot, because it's the narrowest of the two frontages. But we have an averaging formula, and taking the average of the setback of the Peller Avenue house and the required setback of 30 feet results in setback requirement of 27.5. The proposed structure is 25.3 feet. So there are a slight variance in that particular case. The side yard setback is 10 feet, but not less than 30 feet if a lot on the corner, so that's the 57th Street. Side yard setback is 30 feet. They have proposed a porch on the structure that will be 20 feet back, but most of the house is at the 30-foot setback. The opposite side of the yard, then adjacent to 5655 Peller Avenue, is a 10-foot requirement and 20 feet is proposed. The way they've sited this house is to preserve trees on the lot. That is what the survey indicates, some trees that they're trying to preserve. So again, that's why they've situated this house as they have. A rear yard setback requirement is 30 feet, and proposed house is at 21.1 feet. Again, it's a fairly long house, and again, designed to essentially meet the needs of the family, but also to try to fit in with the neighborhood to a certain extent. The review of the criteria is found in the within the staff report, and with a couple of conditions. The trees at the south side of the subject property shall be preserved. Hopefully the applicant has some information for us of what trees they want to preserve and how many and so forth. The city engineer has reviewed the drainage for the site and does not see really any issues with this. So again, it's pretty straightforward. And do you have any questions at this point?
Hi, Scott, I have a question. So it's clear that the front for the setbacks is on Peller Avenue, and it has to do with the length and versus the width.
Right.
And the surveyor has it cited, but he shows the setbacks different because he thinks that the 57th Street is the front.
Yeah, and so
Peller is the
again,
side.
you can't follow the setbacks that the surveyor.
Right, okay, that's, I was just trying to be clear on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so the cars, I'm sorry, the rear setback is the 21 feet.
Yes, that's to the east.
21.1, okay. And then, is it clear that the 12-inch spruce that's shown on the survey is part of the buildings they're trying to save? And then there's two 12-inch, some sort of deciduous trees on the south side.
Right. That's why I have asked the applicants to clarify
Let's get some
that.
clarity.
So they're going to clarify that? Okay, because I have some questions
Yeah, because
about-
there's some grading going on there with what's proposed.
Yeah, there's fill going on there. There's going to be 2 or 3 feet of fill on both of those sets of trees.
Right.
And I don't know that they're also, within 15 feet of the house, so I'm not sure that I see those being able to survive with the grading and how close the house is.
And you think it's wise.
Yeah, and, well, and then as far as the width with the rear setback, I mean, it's a 4-car garage, which I would love to have, but, so, anyways, if it was a 3-car garage, it would fit with the setback on the rear.
Yes, most likely.
But, okay, I'm just, those were the things that I noticed, and I wanted to make sure that I was looking at them right.
Very good.
So, and maybe the applicant has some more information about what those trees are and how they're gonna preserve them so that they don't die with the building construction. You know, I'd hate to see a variance be granted for trees and then have them die a year from now, you know?
Or have them all removed.
Yeah, so, and you can't make it subject to that because the trees die, the trees die. I mean, we can't say that if your trees die, then we're gonna have you move your house. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. But, okay, those are the questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, guys? Scott?
Maybe after they.
Let's let the applicant talk. The applicant, would you like to bring anything forward at this point?
Yeah, you want to come up here?
Yep, if you want to come up, just state your name, your address, and
Name is Chris Hayes. We live in Hugo right now, but as far as regarding the trees that you're concerned about, I think there's ways to protect them with retaining walls or, you know, I know that there's ways to protect them if you're worried about the fill part. You know, you could retain them a couple feet up.
Yeah, except the retaining walls would have to be between the house and the building, right?
It would have to be between the tree and the
I'm sorry,
house.
the house and the tree.
Yeah, so then you just grade it around the, you know, so just to keep the water flow away from the trees. I think there's ways to remedy that.
I
And
think
the trees on the, what's that?
What kind of trees are they? The two on the south side, the two big 12-inch ones?
The bigger one that you see on the south, what is it, the southwest corner there? That is a really good sized tree.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about that one.
You're worried about the one that's kind of by the porch to the
Yeah,
south?
because they're showing between 2 and 3 feet of fill, the one by the porch.
Those are the two
And that's the
12-inch,
two
looks like
12-inch
two
ones,
12-inch trees.
yeah. I'm just trying to make sure that I
Yeah.
understand this correctly.
No, I totally get what you're saying. And I was also, just before the meeting started, I was talking to Eric about the survey, and because I think the surveyor just kind of stuck it, just kind of almost matched Tom's house, really, with the height of it. But I think there is a way that we can actually lower it a little bit, so the fill isn't so thick in the backyard, or in where the trees are that you're talking about. Because right now, the house is actually, I think, 18 inches above, what is that Peller, Tom? Yeah, I think right now it's the same height as Tom's house, which, being the way it faces on 57th, I don't think it needs to be that tall. You know, I don't think we need to have it that far out of the ground.
well, and I would remind the commission, we're here to look at the setbacks. The height of the house is not part of the conditional use permit, whether the filler is there or not, right? We're here to look at the setback requirements.
Well, that could have an impact if they decide to, adjust the first floor elevation of the house, then affects the grading. You know, it may require a revised, as part of the building permit, for instance, a revised grading plan that shows more tree preservation.
And I'm a surveyor, so I mean, I understand the contours and everything, and on the west side there, it looks like you're about as low as you can be, because you have to get the water from the west side of the house coming around south and around the north.
Sure, yeah.
So if you lower it any lower than that, you might have, I don't want to say ditches, but it might work. I just want to, the only reason why I bring it up is not that I'm against these changes to the setbacks, but I hate to see us talking about making the changes and then have the trees die because you
Yeah.
just
Right.
put fill around them, and fill doesn't work very well around
Right.
most trees.
Right.
Do you know what the two 12-inch trees, what, is it a maple, is it an
They're
oak?
basswood.
Huh?
I think they're basswood. I think more linden.
They're just really nice trees that, you know, really
Yeah.
old, I
All
guess.
trees are nice, I think. Some are just nicer than others.
Right, cottonwoods, I don't know, I wouldn't
green
agree
trees
with
are
that
great.
cottonwood's a nice tree, but it does provide some shade and stuff, so.
And the one on the east end, that's a some sort of a spruce, I'm imagining, or if it,
Yeah,
Pine.
yeah, pines or spruces on that side, also in the front there, they're all pines and
There's a
spruces.
big hackberry up front, like 100 year old tree.
Planning commissioners, you could, if it was a long-term concern, you could require an escrow of some form to go back after a year that could be released if they survive. If they don't, well, the escrow could be, we could do a calculation on the impact and give them the escrow back to then go plant something. It's not that the city would keep it, it's that they would just have to escrow it with us, and that would solve the problem potentially.
Let's, do we have anything else for the applicant today at this point? Any other questions for
Well,
the
I
applicant?
don't know who it's for, but what if all the trees die? I mean, is there a problem then with, I mean, we seem to be saying we're making
Making adjustments because.
exceptions. So what would this look like? What would the neighbors think? What would, if we took the trees out of the equation?
You know, again, in thinking about this a little bit more, it's not only trees, but, there's a lot of variations in setbacks. It's the oldest part of Oak Park Heights. There's a lot of buildings that were built before setbacks. So you do have a wide variety of housing styles, of setbacks and so forth. Again, I don't, see as much of an issue with granting some variances here. The lot is certainly big enough to accommodate this house. And so I put more emphasis on the fact that you've got a neighborhood that isn't all cookie cutter with this 30-foot front yard, 30-foot rear yard, 10-foot like the newer neighborhood here. It's unique, and again, this lot is unique to certain.
So I guess that makes the point, then we should be discussing this probably about the objectively without just heck with the trees. I mean,
Agreed.
no, the trees eventually are gonna die. I mean, there's that, and so are we setting something up that's gonna look weird once, or being really in a bad spot if in fact the trees do die? And it sounds like no, that really the exceptions would be granted whether it's for your trees or not, and so,
And if they do die, we can always plant more.
well, and, yeah.
it's a renewable resource, right?
Right, yeah, you can always put more in.
All right, do we have anything else for the applicant tonight, guys? Thank you.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, so who wants to go first? We just closed the public hearing. You can't technically talk anymore, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I just wanted to hear.
If you're walking out, I can allow it. I can allow it, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
you're good.
I'm sorry, Tom Thies, I live on that lot that was the one that divided, sold the lot to the Hayes. They're doing their best to really fit and hold. There's a 100-year-old hackberry tree. There's some great pine trees. Unfortunately, I have a pine tree that I tried to save, and 4 years later, the pine borer showed up. I'm gonna be taking them down. I talked to him already, said, I'll be dropping a tree in your lot and I'll be cleaning it up. So it's like Scott mentioned, it's gonna fit in the neighborhood. I was out golfing with 4 of the neighbors on Tuesday, and everyone talked about it, and they said, look at our neighborhood, just what you mentioned. Things are everywhere. Their house will be a great addition, and thanks for your understanding and help them out.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll see you.
Thanks for showing up.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye-bye, Tom.
All right,
I can start if no one else wants to. I brought up the concerns that I had because I know that if you fill around those trees, they're going to die. And now that I know that they're not storied oaks, 2 12-inch storied oaks, I'm not quite as concerned. And the one on the east side, I'm not saying that one will die because there's only really a foot, yeah, maybe a 1.5 foot of fill around that one, and a pine tree might be able to weather that storm. I don't know if anybody knows anything about that, but anyways, I don't have an issue with this house and the setback requirements that they're asking for. just don't have an issue with it, but the only thing that I said was that it's a 4-car garage, so they probably could pull one of those stalls off there and meet that setback on the east side, but I don't know, I'd sure like to have a 4-car garage at my house, so I just don't have an issue about this project, and I don't want to, I had some questions, but that didn't mean that they were, I don't want to see this happen concerns, you know, so I just wanted to bring them up and let you guys know about the trees dying. If you're going to put fill around them, I don't know. Maybe the arborist, maybe the city arborist could look at your trees and shed some light on it, you know, I mean, that's.
I think we should leave the trees out of the discussion.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
And so that being said, I drove over to the neighborhood, looked at the plans. My concern always is that I see blueprints at these meetings and then they don't build what the blueprints look like, right? So I always like to say the caveat is like, hey, I want to see the dormers, I want to see the house look the way the blueprints show the house is going to look, right? Because we've had some situations where they say, we're going to build this house, and then they don't build what they show us in the blueprints.
But that's also not part of the permit. The part of the
part of the
CUP
permit is the
is the
setbacks.
placement of the walls. They can
Exactly.
change the decorations, if it's wood or rock or who cares, it's the placement of those lot lines or the house lines.
Right.
So if they don't follow the plans to the T, as long as they're within the borders that we approve, that's all that matters.
And don't go beyond the height restrictions or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not impacting the neighbor to the east, and, I mean, is the reason they need this setback is the silly trees, or what? Is that why
It's the
they're
placement of the house against the.
against those trees?
Against the borders of the lot line.
Yeah, you've got two 30-foot, well, a 30-foot setback and then a 27-foot setback on Peller. Again, with any corner lot, that limits your ability to build. And they want, another point to be made, maybe the trees go away, but they do want a reasonable sized backyard also.
Because if you push your one back, then your back.
You push it further back,
Sure.
then you restrict
Well,
them.
and really, where's the backyard? I mean, and when they use this house, the backyard's gonna be the south side.
Exactly.
Because the house is really facing the north, even though our setbacks say that the front setback is on the west side, but that's really not the front of the house.
Right. You look at the design of the house, that
Yep.
indicates that the south will be the rear yard.
And I will say this, as somebody with a north-facing driveway, have fun plowing that and all the ice. It'll be
I have one of
fun.
those too. I have a house that looks very similar to this house.
4-car garage?
No, I wish.
We all like the 4-car garage. I don't know about
I
that.
don't think it's trade. It looks
Maybe you need to put those wires in the driveway to.
All right, keep it on track. So they're intelligently placing the house. The trees might get sacrificed. That's not why we're here. They've done a really good job laying this out, placing it well. I have zero concerns. The neighbor also voiced his support. The adjacent neighbor to the east isn't here, so there's no input from them. They must like it. I think it's good in my opinion.
I would entertain a motion.
I'd move that we approve the request, and we leave out recommendation number 1. That says that the property shall preserve the trees. I think that's going to end up with, that would be something that might create an issue. So I'd move that we accept the recommendation or approve the recommendation without condition number 1.
I'd like to second that so we can discuss it.
I have a motion is second. Call for discussion.
No bike rack? I mean, or you want to change that for the number 1 and?
Their intention is good, right? They're gonna try to keep what they can. They're not gonna just
Yeah.
come in with a bulldozer and mow them all down. They already have good intentions. I think striking it makes sense. They're gonna preserve what they can.
And I think we put a recommendation in there that you consult with the local arborists. We have really good arborists in the city that can help you make educated decisions about your trees when you come in to do the construction.
Are you suggesting changing the motion, or are you just saying?
I'm just
something?
saying it out loud as a
Okay.
recommendation.
Yeah. I wasn't actually hoping that he was going to put something in about a bike rack or a little jab at him.
So the maker and the second of the motion, no changes to the condition, just 2 and 3?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Nothing
All right.
about the city arbors, okay.
If I hear no more discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same side. Motion passes. So what this will do is we'll send this to the city council. That will go to the city council. When's this one gonna go? Anybody know the date?
22nd.
22nd. So it'll go to the city council on the 22nd. So all the planning commission does is we make recommendations that the city council finally approves it. So it'll go to the city council for the vote on the 22nd. So I recommend you show up. But
You're welcome.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, so moving on, our next agenda item on the agenda tonight is the Croyview Holdings LLC. Looking for their amended conditional use permit.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is something that the Planning Commission reviewed in the fall of 2022. There are some revisions to the site plan, and it was anticipated with the conditions put in that approval in 2022 that the final plans would come back for your review. The property is located between the Minnesota Correctional Facility Stillwater and Peril Pond. It's amended conditional use permit. Again, there's a fairly significant change in the site plan for this project, and there's also a need for a conditional use permit for a reduction in the setbacks, as well as parking. So I mentioned that the site is 1.45 acres at Zone BW Business Warehouse District. The size of the building, including a 3,900 square foot office and about a 12,000 square foot warehouse space, has not changed from the original approvals. The conditional use permit that was required the first time around was for open and outdoor storage. Obviously, that's still a part of the request, although that's really been acted on as part of the previous approvals. Setbacks, again, you'll see a change in the layout of the building. Eric, if you've got the site plan.
Is that, did you want the colored one or do you want this one, Scott?
I guess I better put my glasses on so I can see this.
This would be exhibit number,
So the big screen doesn't work anymore?
nah, we're having problems with it. So this is exhibit 3.
Glasses don't help.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
That's a long ways away, guys.
Right behind you, Scott.
Oh, no, that's fine. I can see it.
Then we can see the,
Yeah, no, this is fine, Eric.
This is exhibit 5, Scott.
Yeah, exactly. So the site plan, one of the things you'll note is there's still the 2 access points from Stagecoach, but the previous plan had an access drive that went all the way around the building.
That was the one that had real close on the north line, and it was like straight up and down.
And actually,
okay, I
the
do remember
building
now.
met the setback requirement in this particular case. They've moved the building to the north, so it's 30 feet now. Previously, the building was a little further south, but you had that access drive. And, you know, there were some concerns and some discussion the last time around about activity on that access drive. And you've got a house, if you look at the site plan, in fact, that C3 site plan, you can see the existing home that's quite close to that property line. That may not be visible in that. I don't think it is on that one. Anyway, so, but C3 within your packet shows that. The parking is still in front, and again, the 2 access points. You'll enter the site on the south to enter to go into the warehouse area. There'd be a gate on that south driveway going in. And then a parking. So that back area is fenced. So that is screened, and then you'll see a pretty extensive landscape plan as part of it. So the setback, again, 30 feet to the north is proposed, and the requirement is 50 feet. All the other setbacks are met. So again, that requires a conditional use permit. Building height hasn't changed. That's well within the requirements. Access, really, I believe Mr. Siegfried has had some discussions with the county. They would prefer 1 access point, but I think they may be open to 2. The one thing about it is if the county decides that they cannot have the 2 access points, they'll probably remove the northerly access, and you'll still have adequate access into the parking lot for the front of this site for that. Pedestrian access, there is a trail proposed, a long Stagecoach trail that's on the private property. Eric, remind me, I didn't work directly with that, but there is an easement that has been filed on that, correct?
Yeah, the city control, you can see in the upper right-hand part of your screen, denotes that 10-foot trail easement that is not necessarily dedicated to the public, rather it was dedicated for the city.
Right.
So it can never be assumed that it's for the county's right-of-way, but rather the city controls it.
Exactly.
For like trails
How
or
can that be?
whatever.
Because that's the way I wrote the easement.
I've read an easement or two in my day, and I don't know that
I guarantee you, it's in favor of the city,
watertight.
watertight.
Okay, well,
Purposely
far
done.
be it for me to say anything more. Better have another cookie instead, I think.
Parking with reduced parking requirements that came into effect before this application was submitted. A total requirement now for parking is 17 spaces, and they provided 21 parking spaces. So there isn't a huge difference, but again, we're going through the review process, going through conditional use permits. You know, I envision, again, this is the first one we've had to come through since that was adopted. Really, the main purpose was to challenge the larger development sites on over parking. This particular one where there are a few parking spaces over, I don't have an issue with that. Screening, I mentioned that there is a fence to screen the driveway and loading area at the back. Loading area, again, is at that southwest side of the building. So again, most of the activity, most of that, the equipment and so forth, all the equipment will be concentrated on that part of the building, which is a natural barrier to the neighborhood to the north, at least to the houses to the north.
There aren't any houses to the west, it's a swamp to the west,
No,
right?
to
Okay.
the north,
Okay.
right, to the north. The grading, drainage, and utility plans have been reviewed by the city engineer. Lee's report is in the packet. Lighting plans, we should see a photometric plan as part of the final approvals, and then lighting fixtures will need to be all full cut off. We've talked to Mr. Siegfried about that already.
I submitted that photo.
And you submitted, yeah, exactly.
Thought I saw it.
Landscaping, the city arborist has provided a review of the landscape plan and the need for additional tree replacement or cash in lieu of. Mechanical screening, Mr. Siegfried has also mentioned that most of the mechanical equipment, air handling and so forth, will be built into the structure itself, so that we won't have that issue. But if for some reason there is some mechanical equipment, we'll have to look at it at time of permitting. Noise, again, there's limitations on hours of operation, keeping the doors shut when vehicles are not moving in and out and so forth. Those are standard conditions that we had before. So with that, there's 12 conditions that you can look at. The design review, also, I think the building is positive in its appearance. You'll see some additional materials, some color renderings that have been provided by the applicant. They were at your desk tonight. Again, a high-quality, good-looking brick building with the warehouse area built of tip-up concrete, but still with some architecture detail and so forth. So find that very positive. Any questions?
Any questions? If the applicant would like to tell us anything, I would offer up the opportunity to speak now.
Before he gets into this, I have a question for you. What is the county's issue with the second entrance?
I haven't had a direct discussion with him, but Tim probably has.
Comment on the driveways.
Just remember to state your name.
Tim Siegfried, one of the Croyview owners or shareholders. I have been in discussions with Ryan out at the county. We're just about there. He just needed some detail for the second driveway, turning radiuses, the type of truck traffic, fire truck in and out access. We need to provide him with one more diagram of how the fire truck is going to turn into the south driveway from the south, because that's where it will probably be coming from. he has not leaned one way or the other. He seems conducive to 2 driveways with what we've been speaking on. He has not come back and said, well, it seems like, you got to show me big hardship. He hasn't claimed anything like that. So I think we're on the road to 2 driveways. So he's reviewed the documents 2 or 3 times now at their staff meetings on Mondays. So we're working on that, and I think that's the last kind of piece that's still a little questionable, but it seems good. So that's what I have on that.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Why, did he indicate why he's worried about having 2 entrances? I mean, you can't get any more cars out or in.
No.
If you had 3 of them, it wouldn't make any difference. The
I
same
think-
number of cars are going to come in,
Yeah.
trucks, and they're going to go out.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that-
Did he have a statement about that or not?
Not really. He asked about car count, and we just, I gave him the information. He just says they don't like to always issue that second driveway permit.
Okay, that's all I wondered about.
Yeah, otherwise.
Just if he had a good reason for it or not.
Yeah, and there's already 2 approaches into that property.
I know there is.
One of the stipulations is we gotta infill the 2 existing ones if they aren't used, which that's,
Okay.
we would do that anyways, so.
I guess my question would be is that on that bus property, then do they have a if you're going north on that, is there a bypass that people can get around you on the, like go around and then there's not maybe a bypass there? Is that
On
why
the, on the buses?
yeah, and
or-
on this property, do they have a bypass over here? And then is that the concern that people are gonna go up on the shoulder if people are turning in, or? That's my, I guess, my only.
Yeah, the road widens, it's narrow here and it widens it when it gets by this school district, or not the school district property, but the proposed bus garage, so, which isn't the bus garage anymore.
No.
So,
But again, we don't make the decision on the
No.
driveways, so
Yeah.
you're well aware of that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, anything else from Mr. Seagreed? Okay.
Okay. I'm good.
We are going to run through just a couple high-level things quick to give some.
That'd be great. Just remember to introduce yourself.
I will. Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Stephen Masty, Landscape Architecture, Inc., 3511 Lake Elmo Avenue North. To Jennifer's question, if we look at the graphic that you guys have in front of you, that front page, you can see that there is a turn lane of sorts going to the bus yard to the south. So there is something built into the county's facility to accommodate that. I'd love to just give you a quick high level on a few basic things. Eric, are you able to pull?
I am. If I can get the screen back up on that screen, then I can ask you which file you
that'd be
want me
great.
to open.
Okay.
Which one would you like me to open?
Go on the one that says setback, the second folder from the top. Let's just highlight that really quick. Now, one of the things I think that we're going to talk about tonight, so I just wanted to bring this up because I don't think we illustrated it in what we submitted to the city earlier. It's in this document right here too. Right on, I'll point at this. Okay, there we are. Of course, it doesn't show up on here because the screen's not there. There's a little bit of a red rectangle. Okay, that is the area of discussion that we're talking about as far as this following the setback to a T. There's actually a commercial property that wraps around the south, west, and even partially around the north side of this property. Where we're touching that residential property, that's where we're talking about this discrepancy with setback. So I just wanted to clearly show, and it's on this, so we can kind of hand this out. Pass that around. Just that, it's basically 12 feet by about 90 feet, that if we followed the setback to a T, we'd either have to have a jog in the building right there, or we push the whole building south 12 feet. So that's what we're talking about as it relates to the setback. And I don't know how prominent of a discussion point that is, Scott. Is that something we want to continue to talk about, or?
It's a 30-foot setback because you always take the minimum point from the building to the setback line, and again, I don't think it's worthy of any more discussion.
Okay.
No one has any.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Then, Eric, I'd love to jump in and to the next folder. And there is a folder called illustrative site plan. So it's the fourth from the bottom. There we are. So let's go ahead and just, you can open up the top one. So that's the same site plan that we've kind of handed out, so everybody's kind of had a chance to look at that one. Yep, exactly the same. Kind of illustrates kind of the green space on site. One of the nice things that I wanted to point out to this is we're doing a kind of a multiple systems as far as stormwater treatment goes. The entire median island, where you see there's a little darker or a little olive colored green area, that's a stormwater treatment area. We're pre-treating the stormwater, and then we're sending it below grade for additional polishing and infiltration. Same on the south, we're pre-treating the stormwater off of the surface area of the parking and drive areas. So we're using the plants to help transpire the water, reduce suspended solids, infiltrate, and then at a certain point in time, if it gets up to 12 inches, then it'll get dumped down to our below-grade infiltration system that we've designed. We've designed an infiltration system that's above and beyond what the requirements are. We're in the middle of the review with the Watershed District. Everything so far has been received very positively. We're even entertaining talking to them about doing some innovative grant with them, but we're letting them get through the basics first to make sure we check all the boxes, and then we're going to kind of entertain that with them. But all that's going really well. The next graphic I'd like to run through.
Is this a different file?
Nope, same, yeah, right there, perfect. And that's kind of it's the same section we have here, kind of blown up on a nice big scale. So the nice thing to point out about this, and I can kind of move over to this side, this area right here I wanted to bring up, it's basically the top section on the far right. It shows and illustrates to scale the existing rambler for the residential property to the north. There's an existing box elder tree, which we represented there to scale. And then we have the actual sizes pretty close within a year or two of when we plant the trees of what that's shown, as well as the understory screening. So we can start to see, we did, as Scott pointed out, we originally had a drive lane that wrapped around the whole property. There were some discussions about limiting parking there of semi-trucks or delivery trucks or equipment, things of that nature. So Tim and his group gave us direction to, why don't we just make that whole area really quiet, plant the heck out of it and screen it, and then really focus on the main entry at the other end of the property closer to the bus yard to be respectful of the three residences that are adjacent to the north. So these are just some nice sections that help illustrate not only stormwater in the lower sections, the lower section is basically if you're standing at the building and going right out to a T out to the building. The top section is really nice because it's kind of a cut right through the front part of the site. So this is kind of what you're going to appreciate and see right up along the building as you're looking at it from the street view. Okay. There's other trees in those planting islands that are also going to be there to help kind of soften all that. So I just wanted to show that really quick. You can kind of see where the entry is on the south and the screening in the fence yard. Okay. I have one other little quick pack of just imagery I wanted to run through. And that would be the very top folder. Perfect. Click on that. So this is the titles page, so we can just go to the next image. So one thing that we're trying to do, and one of the conversations we have here, and we wanted to have a little discussion tonight about was, we know there's some significant tree cover on the property as we see today. As there is today, we've got 24 existing trees that would be deemed, according to the city's ordinance, as significant. We're replacing those 24 trees with 63 trees, okay? We're also putting an understory, per those graphics that we looked at and we'll get down to later, understory shrubs, perennial plantings, and other plants in the rain garden areas that will help not only deal with water quality, provide water conservation, but also high quality pollinator habitat. As the plants are drawn right now, we don't have any lawn. So we're really trying to create a nice, neat, low maintenance sort of corporate sort of look that looks great aesthetically, is easy to take care of, and is great as far as like embracing ecology. So this is an example. We actually have some machine-moved native American elms that have been proven to be Dutch elm resistant. We have an example of the size of tree, actually the ones that we're specifying. On the right, we just planted a 6-inch version of this American elm, which is on the left at a project just down the road. The ones we have specified are 7 inches, so they've been bigger than this. So this is the kind of the approach we're going to take. We know we're taking some caliper inches out. We're going to put back the nicest, largest specimen trees that are available in this marketplace. Yeah, you can go ahead and jump to the next one, Eric. Here's another example of some of the trees. On the left, we've got some native lindens. I think somebody mentioned the last one was a basswood tree. The middle, we've got a bur oak. That was just machine moved about 2 months ago on one of our project sites. And then on the right is another example of the exact same tree and size of tree that we've specified along the south property line to help put some instant shade back to kind of give them some shade where the parking is back off the south of the warehouse area. So you see there's a line of trees along the south warehouse along the property line. That's the exact size tree in the nursery, and Dave, standing next to it, is even bigger than me. He's taller and he's a much bigger guy. So at his nursery. So he's kind of a good scale model. So just wanted to show you that we're doing everything we can to try to repopulate, revegetate, and really replace kind of what's there right now. You know, it's kind of a beautiful site that kind of looks more like a park. So we're using all the tools at our disposal to try to make up for that. Okay. If you want to scroll down again, Eric. Just some examples of some other understory plantings. For instance, we've got red twig dogwoods in the stormwater treatment areas on the upper right-hand corner, gray twig dogwoods, which are up on top, that we're going to plant in the understory, especially along the north side of the property. So you've got white pines, basswoods, all these really nice native trees. And then amongst those, we've got gray twig dogwoods, which can get 10 to 12 feet tall, have beautiful red fall color, and those little berries on the upper left, there's like 38 songbirds that like to eat those. So. And then if you want to go to that very last slide right there. This is what we have proposed in the main sort of L that's embracing the front entry of the building and then the south side. We've got a very dynamic landscape where you've got a nice mass of native grasses like little blue stem, wildflowers planted within them, and then spring show will be bulbs. So we've got this amazing pollinator habitat that's neat, clean, a little showy, but it's kind of a nice way to present the landscape and kind of embrace kind of the most prominent part of the building that everybody will see when they enter and when they drive by. The very last slide below this just showcases we've got some small garden walls that embrace the building in 2 different places. Just some short walls. They're less than 4 feet in height, but the stone material we're talking about is just a local quarried St. Croix Valley limestone. So that's kind of some of the materials we're using are high quality, locally sourced, sustainable materials. Okay. I think that's all for this presentation. I think the main thing that I wanted to talk about was the setback as it relates to the residential property, and it sounds like there really isn't. Is there any action or any sort of thing that needs to be talked about that in greater tonight?
The Planning Commission will discuss if they have any
issues that. Yep. And then the second thing, which doesn't relate to that and isn't on the docket per se, but is talking about the landscape ordinance as it relates to tree replacement. Right now, as it's proposed, let me grab my paperwork here. So this is an item that doesn't have to be solved today because we're not going to be able to probably replant this stuff till next spring anyway. But we did our best to repopulate the site with the 63 trees to replace the 24 trees. We don't have any what we call high quality, long-lived heritage trees on site. We don't have any oaks we're taking out. We don't have any maples, even like sugar maples, no white pines, things of that nature. The bulk of caliper inches here are silver maples, a handful of green ash, which are included in those 24 trees that we're taking out, because according to the city's ordinance, even green ash are considered significant trees still. So we wanted to have a conversation about that to say, from our perspective, we know that we have the code that says we've got to replace X to X. We've got kind of a unique circumstance here with the type of site and the project and program that we have. It's difficult to achieve that with the caliper inches of all the soft maples that we have on site. Additionally, we'd like to advocate for something that we as landscape architects run into a lot, where instead of looking at an antiquated code where they're just saying, hey, if you take a tree out, just put a tree back, we look at something called the complete landscape. We're proposing, as it sits right now, 1,515 understory shrubs. about 765 native perennials, little blue stem, pale purple coneflower, things like that, and about 3,000 bulbs. So we're doing a pretty good job of really focusing on creating a complete landscape. So instead of just putting trees in and putting lawn underneath, we're trying to do everything we can to put plantings back in place that we feel have just as much or maybe even more value than just looking at caliper inches. So we'd love to talk about that a little bit more at the appropriate time. If now's the time to talk about it, I'd like to continue the conversation. If we don't need to talk about that right now and want to talk about that later or deal with it as a staff sort of conversation, then we're happy to figure that out. And I think Eric may have a path or recommendation as to how we might do that. So I just wanted to present that that's something I think we'd like to talk about as part of the total package. Tim, is there anything else that you wanted to present right now?
I'm good. You have questions, pretty fine job.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll sit down and we're happy to entertain more questions if there's something else. Okay.
Tim's
Go ahead,
got a
Tim.
question.
I got a question for you, Steve.
Yep.
In light of the watertight easement that's on the east side for the trail, where would that trail go? And I'm going to assume, and I'm just going to use just this one here.
Yep.
I'm assuming it would go like right through here?
Yeah, so that limited our ability for two reasons. We had to push our site program back to allow for that additional 10 feet. We also didn't put any plantings, any trees within that 10 feet plus a little bit of extra area to work. And what we did is in our grading plan, we created a bench to accept a future trail at some point in time. So we planned for that, so with the types of trees that we did specify.
What are these?
Those are machine-moved oaks. So when we looked at that graphic with the big oak tree in the middle, yeah, so I've got...
these?
Those are a smaller statured flowering crabapple. So they're small in size. We've got a power line under there, so we wanted to put something to create some screening from the street, but also add some interest. So we've got...
You're not going to light them up or anything?
Not going to light them up or anything. And we just have dwarf bush honeysuckle, which is a low native shrub, kind of embracing that edge.
Yeah.
And then once we get into the stormwater facility, we have red twig dogwoods.
I just wanted to make sure that you had thought about that trail, which I knew the answer to, but I thought I had to ask it.
No, good question.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you.
I'll sit down for a bit.
I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Who made that second? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Tim.
Oh, Tim.
Yep. Is there any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The public hearing is closed. I mean, I can talk about this in a little bit. They brought this the first time when we talked about it, that north road, right, that wraparound driveway was a concern. We talked about that extensively. The neighbors
I didn't like it.
expressed their concerns about that extensively. This one really addressed that. It was considerate of the neighbors, right? I like that infographic they have there sitting on the chairs where we can see the existing tree and then see what they're proposing from a viewpoint angle of that house. Because that house has windows looking right at the building.
Yep.
So I do like what that proposes there. I think it's a nice way of being considerate of the neighbor's property. Because that's still residential to the north, right? Or
Just the one
correct?
piece,
Those next three are still zoned residential.
but only up to here.
Only here, only at 90 foot. It's the back
Right.
30 feet's not. That's commercial.
And actually, if you're measuring setbacks, you go to the southwest corner of the residential property, you would do an arc. So it's not even as much as the drawing that you showed us where the 12 by would actually be something more like this.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
But,
Semantics.
yep, absolutely.
What else do we have, guys?
I mean,
I do think we should ignore the whole thing with the landscaping trees and the city ordinance, and I think this is not the time or the place for us to deal with that.
I guess my thought with the trees is we have an ordinance, it's in place. Lisa, our arborist, has taken that and calculated as per that ordinance. If there's some changes that they would suggest, staff could entertain that, and then we could take it to the Planning Commission, City Council down the road. But it is what it is right now. That is the ordinance. If they want to vary from that, they have to ask for a variance, not a conditional use permit. or the city may entertain down the road, taking that, Steve, what was the term? The whole landscape approach?
Landscape, so
Yeah, I don't think that,
Yeah, I don't think
But it doesn't apply
It doesn't
tonight,
apply to
so-
the conditional use permit. It doesn't apply.
And there's the clause in there in the recommendation about working with Lisa, so I think that ticks the box.
Yep, I would agree.
I'm here all
Yeah,
night.
I guess the comment that I want to make is that I think that this plan is 1,000% better than the last one. so.
Absolutely.
And I like the building, I like the, that they brought Steve and his company on to try and really treat the landscape. It's not so much beautifying the building, although there are plantings around the building. It seems like they spend some real time working on screening from the neighbors, which I appreciate and I think is a good idea, so I don't.
Must be good enough because the north neighbor isn't here. He was
Yeah.
here last time and he had good
The south
concerns.
neighbor isn't here either.
And this little,
All right, focus.
this would be a leg up on the south property too. It'll look good.
You just don't like it if I say something funny, do you?
oh, we wish you would say something funny.
Good one, good one.
I move that we approve the request with the conditions outlined.
I would second that.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify same sign. Motion carries. Again, like the previous one, this will go to the city council on the 22nd. Recommend you show up to the city council meeting. We just recommend the recommendations to them and then they make the final decision. So we appreciate the work you guys did on this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great revision.
Steven.
I have collections of these
All right,
from people leaving.
You can have all of these.
Which ones do you want back?
Anything you guys are gonna toss?
Bring them to city council.
Yeah, reuse those.
Yeah, you need that one?
Pass them
Bye,
out.
Tim.
That's the packet.
Put them in the truck.
He just brought extra stuff for us to see.
Oh, I got them in the other room. I figured they didn't want to.
Here, Steve,
We looked at them as staff the other day. They look great.
Steve.
There you go. Thank you.
Well, they go to that pile to die.
All right, let's keep moving. So I see no new business. Is there any new business? No new business. There's no old business. There's no old business.
See you, man.
Informational. We got an upcoming meetings. It looks like they're attached here.
I'm good for the 22nd.
You're good. Tyler's good for the 22nd. What's your retirement party day? It's not on here.
It's
30th.
open house.
I guess they're doing an open house on
What
30th.
the 30th. Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
12 to 5.
So Wednesday, noon to 5. Yeah.
You gonna be here the whole day?
Yeah, I'll be here.
Well, it's not here. We got to
That's
point
new
out the
business.
important one. That's
I'll be
important.
there.
All right.
What's that? It's not here? The open
No,
house?
the open house isn't written down, so we got to have the open house there for Eric.
No, but I mean, it's in this
It's
building.
here.
Here at City Hall.
All right.
Move we adjourn.
We have a second.
Second.
Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So why 2025?
Jennifer, take those cookies
That's
home
like
to your
a
boys.
huge leap.
No?
Legislate.
That's what the